Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Mind Body Mentor YouTube channel with your host, Stephen Jaggers. Today, I want to talk about curing depression using specifically breath work. Well, let's back up. Let's actually talk about stress. Stress is the #1 killer out there. It weakens your system to where you can't fight things off. Stress also creates growth as well, healthy amounts of stress, and we'll talk about that. If I were to stress you out, I'm putting pressure on you. When you have all of these different life pressures, taking care of children, paying bills, working a job, all of these different life pressures on you, that pressure is stressful. As humans, we have to find ways to move that pressure out of our system, not just on a mental level, but on a physical level, on an emotional level. How do we do that? We find ways to express. Some of the most stressed out people that I know, some of the people with the most amount of pressure on them, have found incredible ways to channel that stress into an expression. And if you don't find ways to express, you will end up suppressing. You suppress. If you don't find ways to speak your truth, to tell people how you feel, create your message into the world, then you suppress. And if you suppress, you end up becoming repressed, and eventually you become depressed. Until that pressure starts to densify into your system as something that needs to come up, something that needs to come out. I know there's so many people, and I know for myself, there's been situations where I've held back my expression because I've been afraid of what people will think about me, or I've been afraid of what people will say. I've just wanted to keep the peace in relationship, but that actually made me very depressed. Finding different ways to express is so important. And a lot of the times those expressions maybe could look like some of the negative things like sadness, or tears, or crying, or yelling, or maybe you're very angry and you need to find a way to express that anger, because if you don't express, you repress and you become depressed. Finding a healthy way to express is the key. And ideally, you'd have multiple routes of expression, having creative expressions, having a vocal expression, using your voice. We have a voice for a reason. Your voice is designed to be heard. Your message is designed to be heard. And even some of your deeper emotions that you haven't been letting yourself feel, they need to come up and out. So one, having a safe space where you can express these emotions, and that's where breath work specifically with a trained practitioner has helped me so much to release a lot of the trauma. And so let's get into emotions and trauma a little bit as well. Trauma is not the actual event that's happening to you. It's not the terrible thing that's happening. It's what's happening inside of you based on that thing that's happening to you. And it's subjective. It's different for each of us. So something that's traumatic to me might not be traumatic to you. What happens is that in breath work specifically, and a lot of the times, with these deeper styles of breath work, and there's so many different types of breath work out there, and they're all good for different things. There's a lot of dogma in the breath work space, but they're all good for different things. But these deeper breath work, such as holotropic, such as somatic breath work, such as rebirthing breath work, these breath works where you are breathing heavily for an extended period of time, what that does is if you have a trained practitioner and you have a safe space, you can actually take your system into that traumatic physiological state or into that stress state. If I was being chased by a tiger, how would I be breathing? I'd be breathing like, you can mimic on a somatic level, on a body-centered level, going into that stress state. And a lot of the times it's hard for us to tap into emotions when we're just in our normal everyday waking state. We have to take ourselves into a different state. So through different breathwork practices, you can take yourself into that stress state, and it'll bring up a lot of those emotions for you, where you don't have to tie a story to it. Sometimes the tears just come up, sometimes the angers just come up, and they need to express so they're not depressed or repressed anymore. And so expression is the key to depression. Not just with finding creative expressions out in the world, and hopefully you have lots of different creative expressions, you have a physical outlet for yourself, but you have a safe container for yourself to express on an emotional level as well. If this message resonated with you, if you want to learn more about somatic breath work, leave us a comment, click the link, hit the subscribe, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.